Something I often ask new people making small talk is what they think the meaning of life is. The reason for all existence. The reason why we're all here. They usually don't have an answer, and then they walk away and I have to find someone else to alienate. But there's a community online full of people who think they actually have the answer, or at least are very close to discovering it. It all began with a website called 973 et Nama, which is the human spelled backwards. I guess that means the 973 should actually be read 379? The website first appeared on the internet in 2000 and eventually became one of the earliest examples of a well-known website that many people were scrambling to try and figure out what it all meant. Searching around though, it looks like threads still to this day pop up every once in a while from people claiming to have solved it, and that finding the answer has enlightened them or put their psyche at ease. Well, I want enlightenment. Alright, that's it. This is the website we're investigating today. It starts off pretty simple. When you go to the domain, the very first page shows the phrase "amaze in," followed by a cascading text pyramid from the word abracadabra. You might not catch it, but there are two different things you can click on this page. If you click right at the top center of the page, just above the A, then you're taken to a page called Ancient Egyptian Pyramids, which just shows a red, blurred out number 9. Clicking on the 9 takes you back to the previous page, so at first glance that just seems like a dead end. But if you view the page source, there are some weird mentions of religion and numerology in the meta tags, as well as some excerpts from books that discuss the mysteries and dimensions of the Giza pyramids. That kind of gives me a new perspective on the pyramid-shaped text on the first page. Clicking on the words "amaze in" on the first page takes us to a simpler one, showing animations of 3 circular, star-like patterns receding and blooming like flowers. Clicking on any of the animations takes us to the same page, and it's there that the world opens up to us. It's this page where we're introduced to some of the seemingly nonsensical phrases and math that awaits us throughout the labyrinth, usually fixated on the number 9. The phrase "I am that I am" appears, which is a famous line from some translations of the Hebrew Bible. It's God's response when Moses asks what God's name is. Other phrases fill the page as well, though they're more mysterious, seeming to be vague references to religion and nature. Other numbers appear on the page with the phrase "I thought," which is also the title of the page. This is highlighted by some math that probably looks like gibberish if you're not familiar with it. It's time for a K.T.B. crash course. There are 2 concepts at play here: Gematria and digital roots. Gematria is a term that broadly refers to when you come up with some relationship between numbers and letters. Most commonly, it refers to the classic cipher of A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3, and so on throughout the alphabet, until you get to Z, which is equal to 26, being the 26th and final letter of the alphabet. This website's creator seems to like the phrase "I thought," because the gematric code for I is 9, and if you take the translation for thought and add up all those numbers together, you get 99. More of those 9s. But there's apparently another thing that the author likes about the word thought, because as the next few lines show us, if we take each of the ciphers and individually add their digits, so 20 becomes 2, because 2 plus 0 equals 2, 15 becomes 6, because 1 plus 5 equals 6, and so on, we get 36. And when we add those digits together, so 3 plus 6, we get 9 again. This is something called a digital root, where you take any number, add up its digits together, then take whatever that number is, add its digits together, and keep going until you get 1 digit. That digit you end up with is the digital root of the number you started with. The digital root is an interesting math concept, but I don't know of any practical applications. That said, what is relevant about it is that the number 9 is special to the entire concept. 9 is the only non-zero number that won't change a number's digital root if you add it. Try it out yourself to test it. Take any number, find its digital root, then take the number you started with, add 9 to it, and find that number's digital root, and it will be the same digital root as the one from before. 0 is an exception to all of this, of course, because 0 doesn't change the value of anything anyway when you add it. But ignoring 0, 9 is the only other digit that has this property, which I think might shed some light on why the site's creator likes the number so much. The page also has the letters Z and A spammed over and over again next to each other, the first and last letters of the alphabet, 1 and 26. 26 plus 1 equals 27, and the digital root of 27 is 2 plus 7 equals 9. There's the 9 again. The creator definitely wants us to find the digital roots in as many things as we can. As one phrase on the page puts it, add to reduce, reduce to deduce. Another thing listed is the alphabet, with the letters I and R highlighted, the two letters whose digital roots are 9. And apparently reversing the alphabet will still land you on the same two letters. That is interesting, honestly. If you're thinking that we're already beginning to unravel this mystery, however, then you'd be sorely mistaken. In fact, we've barely even scratched the surface. You see, at the top and bottom of the page are these left and right arrow buttons with a dot in the middle. Almost every page on the site has these. Clicking the arrows seems to cycle you through related pages, while clicking on the dot brings you to an entirely new layer of the site. Clicking left on this page takes you back to the flowers, but clicking right shows some more of the same letter math, this time mainly focused on the AZ thing. Clicking right again shows us this kind of creepy painting, apparently called the Nuclear Family. Continuing to click through, the pages alternate between religious quotes from Hinduism and Christianity, sometimes interspersed with math, and more eerie works of art. If we click on the dot, or if we just keep on clicking right, then we hit the page where things really start getting wild. The evocation. This page is absolutely insane. Just look at the scroll bar. It goes on for miles, and it's just more and more of these pyramid-shaped texts, more haunting artwork, and more phrases and religious allusions that don't seem to make any immediate sense. The question, and that is the verdict of you all? I, an eye for an eye, the perfect law, the law perfect, judgment perfect, perfect judgment. Yes, that is in fact the question that keeps me awake at night. Still though, the typography and the way the words are colored is very interesting to me. With the way a lot of the words alternate between red and brown letters in a way that seems like there really might be a deeper purpose behind it, or the way that this passage about spirit energy has these gradients that almost give off a heavenly glow of some sort. The graphics on this page are more elaborate than on the previous pages, with these charts that showcase more Gematria and more digital root math, most commonly fixated on figures from ancient Egyptian and Greek religion. The page ends with some images of stars, rainbows, and cubes in fancy arrangements. And with the images blown up like this, we can more clearly see the signature written at the bottom of the paintings. David Dennison, followed by the month and year that the work was created, in most cases being sometime in the 1970s. More on that later. Clicking on the dot or the arrow here takes us to an even more elaborate page titled Good Luck, with a whole bunch of links. The most straightforward link here is probably the Grand Gallery, which is just an archive of the artwork featured on the site. The first page consists of these mosaic patterns, and every other page shows the more typical style. There are literally hundreds of these image files in the section, though a lot of them are just filtered or recolored versions of others. Despite the creepiness, I honestly think that there's something kind of beautiful about the art, even if it's in somewhat of a haunting way. Based on the names of the paintings, many of them seem to be trying to represent people and relationships in a symbolic or stripped-down way. Take this one, for example, which I think is supposed to be about pregnancy, with the stomach's face sucking something like a straw out of the host's body. Or this one, which shows a face distorted behind a camera. I interpret this one to be a message about how a person who spends their time analyzing other people will have a harder time figuring out who they are themselves. To them, their own face is the least clear thing in the world. This whole section is like a playground of spookiness, and is my favorite part of the site to just casually browse around. The rest of the links on the good luck page are a lot less straightforward, though. The top of the page shows the numbers 1 through 9, followed by a 0. Each non-zero number brings you to a different index, each one containing a whole new class of pages showing more of what we've been seeing a lot of up to now: quotes, math, and spiritual analyses. The 0 button is the exception, and instead takes you to a larger index, indexing these indices. This is more confusing to navigate than you might expect, because not all the pages are properly numbered, and I think there are actually more links here to pages that aren't linked on the regular index. The magical alphabet and letter and number pages are just more of the same thing, but with a heavier focus on the digital roots, showing more elaborate charts and dictionaries that find the codes for as many words and concepts as possible. I'm not entirely sure how to describe the Advent pages that are represented by the broken images on the left and right side of the center of the page. These seem to be a broader collection of more pages just like the evocation page that we looked at earlier, with some of the longest and most extensive pages on the site. It would probably take me hours to fully read through just one of them, and there are hundreds of these pages. The last thing I want to note is the most central button, which goes to the site's forum. This is where official discussion on the site and its secrets is located, and it's actually still sort of active to this day, albeit with a fairly small community. This is also where you'll find people claiming that they've solved the site after studying it for many years, or saying that they've achieved a higher state of being by learning everything there is to know. In pretty much every thread I could find, though, the conclusion was always the same. Someone asked to explain the site's meaning, and would be responded to with vague statements, or saying how they need to discover it themselves. That's boring, though. What if I just want the answers given to me? There are also a couple people giving an equally vague, but somewhat more helpful answer, explaining that all you really need to do is read the evocation page in its entirety, letter by letter, number by number. I found a couple different people saying that reading through it in its entirety gave them a really weird feeling, with the user Sherlock describing their soul and consciousness re-entering their body, and the user White Rabbit more vaguely saying that something unexpected happened, and advising others to use caution if they plan on reading it themselves. Well, after hearing all this, I had to try reading it myself, and after doing so, I can't say anything too interesting happened. 8, 15, 9, 15, 14, plus equals 61, 6 plus 1 equals 7, equals 7, equals 7. 12 Agathodamon, 1, 7, 1, 2. Za, 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 za. 9. Ah, za, za, za. Ah, za, za. 1, 8, 1, 8, 1, 8. Onama, I'm not even halfway through. I'm just gonna pull back the curtain a bit here and admit that in my original vision for this video, I wanted to do a super in-depth deep dive into literally every single page, kind of like what I did with the Coronation Day video. But the reason why I scrapped that idea is because the more and more I looked into the site, the more I realized that that video would be kind of boring. Aside from the artwork in the first few pages, the majority of the site really is just hundreds and hundreds of pages of the same exact thing over and over again, taking religious or ancient words and phrases and showing graphs that reveal their digital root, occasionally mixed in with quotes and passages that have some kind of vague spiritual significance, even if that significance is sometimes ambiguous, like in the case of the Egyptian pyramid thing. I've spent literally hours of my time looking through this site to see if I can find any kind of deeper message or deeper themes or anything, but no, it really does seem like the deeper pages of the site are just archives of things that the site's creator found interesting. I think I've already found most of the features of the site that are unique enough to warrant a direct mention, but I do encourage you guys to explore the site for yourselves if you're interested, and to let me know in the comments if you find anything new. So instead of trying to do a hyper in-depth analysis, let's talk more about the site's creator. As mentioned earlier, the name David Dennison pops up numerous times on the site, mostly on the signature of the artwork, pointing to him as the one responsible. Further proof of this can be found on one of the alchemy pages, which contains copies of emails sent to and from David Dennison. It's a list of emails he's received from fans of the site, and has been updated as recently as a few months ago. But it also contains emails dating back to the early 2000s and even the late 90s that he himself sent out to other people, talking about his research into these numbers. Many of these emails were directed to famous people such as Stephen Hawking and Nelson Mandela. One was sent to the biology professor Steve Jones, and one was even sent to Rupert Sheldrake, an author known for his pseudo-scientific ideas about morphic resonance and morphogenetic fields. Regardless, this page is actually pretty helpful with interpreting the site. In many of these emails, David's actually explaining more straightforwardly what he believes. Well, a bit more straightforward. In one of these emails, it actually becomes clear why he cares so much about the number 973 specifically. The root number for sun is 9, the root for earth is 7, and moon is 3. Though fans of the site have also pointed out that 973 reversed is 379, which is the country calling code for Vatican City, tying back to the religious themes and maybe fitting in a little bit better with the fact that the site's URL looks like it's meant to be read backwards. But David also talks a lot about himself in these messages. He lives in the UK and was born on May 21st, 1939. As of recording this, he's 84 years old. He started painting in 1963, but has been known for his painting skills ever since the 70s. One email includes a blurb that was supposedly written about him in 1977 for the Sunday Times, and featured one of his paintings. The blurb actually mentions that not much about him is known, but does provide the interesting tidbit that the famous German artist Max Ernst, who was also well known for his surrealist paintings, once visited England for the purpose of finding out more about David's work. The detail I find the most interesting, however, is his non-creative line of work. He spent 3 years in the UK's Royal Air Force before spending the next 27 years working at a prison, spending 2 years as a discipline officer, and the next 25 years as a medic before retiring. The prison he worked at was His Majesty's Prison at Wakefield, which is known for housing some of the most dangerous people in the country, and David had to be dealing with these people on a daily basis. Some messages from him also explain that he worked long hours, and didn't have many people he could talk to. It was here that he began painting to pass the time, having taken no art classes or formal lessons before. He was completely self-taught. The reason why all of this is so intriguing to me is because the most common characteristic of his artwork is the fact that they tend to show people in warped and distorted ways. I wonder how much of this style was shaped by his own views on the people he was forced to interact with. At one point on the page, updated much more recently within the past few years, he addressed rumors that he had died by saying that he is alive and well in his starship. In 2020, he shared a link to a YouTube page owned by Rob Bell, who's posted videos of David saying that they're friends and that Rob's the one who taught David how to build and maintain the website in the first place. In the video from 2020, we're given a tour of David's starship, in which we can see piles of books, sculptures, and other artwork, including some of the very paintings that we can see on the site. Based on the videos and the emails, he definitely comes off as a bit eccentric, but overall he just seems like an ordinary, fun old man. Still though, he's fairly reclusive when it comes to interacting with fans. He only has 4 posts on his own forum, which has been up since at least 2007, and although he adds messages to the page on his site, I don't know whether he actually responds to them. I tried contacting him to maybe get an interview, but when I sent a message to the email listed on his site, I immediately received an automated message saying that the address had been deactivated. So in all honesty, I'm not even entirely sure how he received some of the more recent messages listed. So it seems like asking David the answer directly won't work. But to be honest, I think I'm okay with this. Based on the hints that some of the other users has given, or how often they conflict with one another, my honest opinion is that there probably isn't any singular, rigid meaning, and that the people who make these threads are just having some fun by coming up with their own ideas. In fact, there's another YouTuber called Elder's Vault who did his own videos on the site, and actually managed to get a straight answer from one of the forum's more active users, who sort of said as much. The site is just a community for these people who believe in the power of numbers, and that God manifests himself to us through math, and in the number 9 specifically. Personally, I have a very different take on the site. My interpretation is that the key to the entire site rests on just those first 2 pages. The maze of the site is just that, a maze that will lead you in circles. If you want, you can think of the circle as being symbolic of the circle of life or some other cycle. I strongly doubt that this is the intention, but I like to imagine that the site itself is, ironically, satirizing the desire for naive people to achieve some greater enlightened understanding in the first place. You can venture as far down the rabbit hole as you like, getting into darker territory and surrounding yourself with documents that become increasingly elaborate and insane, but eventually, you'll end up right back where you started, with no ultimate answers and no deeper wisdom gained. That's the cycle being conveyed, humankind's constant search for answers. If anything, the most straightforward page on the entire site is the hidden link on the front page, the number 9. That's all this website says, ultimately. It's just a big shrine to the number 9. That rhymed. On that page, all the stuff about the pyramids and religion are hidden in the page source, as if to say that none of that stuff is really important, it's just a little side quest for those who want to look. We get so attracted to the alluring mystery of the maze that we forget to search around just a little bit and notice the thing spelling out the big picture right under our noses. That's what I got out of the site. Maybe you got something totally different about it. If so, I want to hear it. Post your thoughts in the comments below, because I do find this whole thing interesting and I love reading input from you guys. I hope you guys liked the video, and if you enjoy seeing things like this, subscribe for more, and send me a request for other weird things on the internet that you'd like me to talk about. Alright, awkward outro time. Have a nice day, a good night, and a generally lovely life. Bye-bye.